Dynamite by No One Hero is playing, followed by Pyro on the stage. The camera turns to the commentary table. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another wild night here on AEW Dynamite. Tonight, we'll be hearing from Chris Jericho after he announced Jeff Cobb as a new official member of the Inner Circle last week. And speaking of last week, we'll also be seeing the Inner Circle teammates Santana and Ortiz in action against Darby Allin and Matt Hardy, who they attacked last week. Excalibur and also JR Wardlow, the bodyguard of MJF, will be in action against Jungle Boy, who MJF eliminated in that Battle Royale to become the new number one contender for the AEW Championship the other week. You can expect MJF to be at ringside for that. And let's not forget, CM Punk will hopefully be here tonight to accept Cody's apology. I wonder how that'll go down. And also a huge announcement is to be made about an upcoming event for AEW. Don't miss that. Well, gents, I say we crack on with the show. So quite a lot to go over to kick tonight's episode off. We get a 55 for that. So here is the confirmation for tonight's card. Tonight's main event will see Matt Hardy team up with Darby Allin as they take on Proud and Powerful. We'll also see Wardlow in action against Jurassic Express's Jungle Boy. Chris Statlander teams up with Shida as they take on Dr. Britt Baker and Nyla Rose. And also CM Punk is here tonight and he's set to go face to face with Cody. Gotta watch out for that one. But up next, kicking off tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite, it's Nick and Matt Jackson, the Young Bucks, up against the Butcher and the Blade. And winning that match is the Young Bucks. They go over the Butcher and the Blade. After 9 minutes 34, it was Matt Jackson getting the win over the Blade. He pins him after a Meltzer driver. The Blade was the weak link of the match with a 31. Plenty of room for improvement for the Butcher and the Blade, and we got a 58 for that opening bout. And after the match, the Butcher performs a double clothesline to both Matt and Nick Jackson. The Blade gets back to his feet, and both of them continue to lay in a few fists and kicks on the Young Bucks until FTR run into the ring. Butcher and Blade quickly exit, and Blade picks up a mic on his way out and says, "Hey, we're not done with you four yet. I'd say we end this next week. An 8-man tag. You four against us too, and well, we'll decide our other two partners. Two guys that have been there, done that. Two guys that have awoken. Two guys, Cash and Dax, know very well." So very similar to what's been happening in real life, but with my own little spin on things. And as we saw a couple of episodes ago, we had that teaser of this tag team that's awoken. We're going to find out who that is next week as we roll into the next segment. Backstage, Jake Roberts is looking at his phone. Damn things don't work when DDP walks in and says, "Hey Jake, look, about last week, we gotta talk. What the hell is going on, man? When you came to me and said you was thinking of getting back in the biz, and never in my wildest dreams thought it'd be like this. This Lance Archer dude is bad news. Just look what he's done these past couple of weeks. It's not what we're about, Jake." Kenny Omega walks in and goes straight for Jake. "Hey, you need to keep your monster on a leash. Knacker is going to need surgery after what happened last week, and God knows how Jungle Boy is dealing with things after being attacked on Dark." And Jake Roberts, "Yeah, and you need to mind your own business. You also need to understand that Lance Archer will do whatever he wants, like tonight, against your mate QT." Kenny tries to grab for Jake, but DDP stands in the way, trying to calm things down. Kenny holds up his hands and backs away, and we get a 75 for this, probably with the inclusion of both Jake Roberts and Kenny Omega being the stars that they are. But DDP performed poorly in this segment, but I'm not too bothered by that as we move into the next one. Chris Jericho is backstage with his Inner Circle baseball bat over his shoulder, and Jeff Cobb standing beside him. And he goes on to say, 2 weeks ago, after All Out, I promised Sammy that the Inner Circle are going to take over AEW once and for all. Well, last week, we took a step in that direction, thanks to Jeff Cobb here. Not many of you know him. You will though, in time. Jeff Cobb is a mean son of a bitch. He is what's going to elevate the Inner Circle. Jericho stops talking as he notices Brody Lee pass by behind the camera. Brody stops, nods his head, and walks on. As I was saying, the Inner Circle will lay rest to AEW, and tonight we start in the main event. It's Santana and Ortiz. Finish what we started last week by beating both Darby Allin and Matt Hardy. And Jericho walks off with Jeff Cobb looking menacing. So we get a 70 rating for this, and Jericho did not do well without a script. Find that very hard to believe. 9 times out of 10 is always doing well, always improvising well without a script. So I'm not sure why it's picked up on that. But 70, it's pretty decent anyway as we move into our next match of the evening. Women's tag team action. The Beast, Nyla Rose, and Dr. Britt Baker teaming up to take on the AEW Women's Champion, Hikaru Shida and Chris Statlander. And it was Shida and Statlander that come out on top with a big win after just under 8 minutes. And it proved to be one of our better matches in the women's division, and it picked up a 40 there. The United Quality lifted the match. As we move into the next segment after the match, Dr. Britt Baker is left in the ring distraught, and then turns her attention with a face full of venom to Crazy Mary Dobson, who was at ringside. Forgot to mention that, as it was in the road agent notes, who stood outside the ring. She smiles and waves. Dr. Britt Baker gets up, slides out the ring, and chases Mary Dobson around the ring, goes for a clothesline, but Dobson ducks and then runs at Baker with a double knee strike. Dobson then grabs Baker and rolls her into the ring, goes into the ring, pulls out a chair, places it on top of Britt Baker as she goes to climb the turnbuckle, looking for what one will assume her split-legged moonsault. Toni Storm comes running out, or should I say comes storming out, and she climbs up onto the ring apron, pushes Dobson off. She tumbles and then rolls out of the ring. Storm stares her down, then goes over to Britt Baker, lifts her up and performs her Storm Zero, then holds her arms in the air, shouting, "I'm all elite and I'm coming for that title." So straight away, just involving someone of the status of Toni Storm, we get 42. 2 fantastic ratings for the women's division here as we move into our next match between Lance Archer and QT Marshall. Finished after just 7 minutes, with Lance Archer picking up yet another win after another blackout. Last week he beat Michael Nakazawa, absolutely devastating win there. This week he's done QT as well. Lance Archer grabs a hold of QT and starts smashing his head into the canvas. Kenny Omega runs out, slides into the ring and starts to attack Archer. He is going berserk. Wonder where we've seen that before. He races into the ropes and then hits Archer with a V-trigger. Archer is knocked to the outside but is still on his feet. He is pissed and a bit dazed. Jake Roberts is trying to calm him down, trying to get him to leave. Archer, holding his head, walking up the ramp, pushes the nearest cameraman out of the way as Kenny Omega watches on. So just a 65 for this segment rating. Lance Archer worked the crowd well with that freedom to improvise. Kenny Omega, of course, being Omega. But up next, this is the one I've been looking forward to. A huge announcement is made promoting AEW's next event in 3 weeks' time. AEW Halloween Havoc, including stars such as Jericho, Omega, Page, Cody, CM Punk, MJF, and Jon Moxley. This October, don't miss it. So Halloween Havoc is coming to you guys very soon. October week 2. We're not too far out now, actually, and it's going to be a good way of generating a bit of revenue as well, because obviously our next pay-per-view, it's in a couple of months' time, with it being Full Gear. We've had All Out, Full Gear being in November. I felt we needed to put something in between, as we are losing a bit of money, and I will have to go over that in a special episode at some point. As we move into our next match of the evening, it's a decent match between the Best Friends and Private Party and Hangman Page, and it's the Best Friends that come out on top with the win, defeating the number 1 contenders for the AEW World Tag Team Championships and also one half of the AEW tag team champions in Page, and he got 74. He was the best performer in this match. Got 66, really happy with that. Another good 6-man tag team match. And after the match, Scorpio Sky runs out and slides into the ring, squaring up to both Trent Beretta and Chuck Taylor, who was celebrating their win, pushing and shoving. Sky is heard saying, "You want to attack my brothers, huh? Attack me now." Chuck and Trent are trying to calm Sky down. Orange Cassidy is sat in the corner. He looks like he's asleep, not understanding what he's talking about. Eventually, all three leave the ring discussing something and also arguing to the back. Orange Cassidy just shrugs his shoulders, stands up, and leaves. So last week we saw both Christopher Daniels and Kazarian being on the end of a brutal attack backstage. We don't know who it was. Scorpio Sky obviously thinks it's the best friends. As Hangman Page and Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn make their way to the back, they get ambushed from behind by Pentagon Jr., Ray Phoenix, and Pac. Private Party get taken out first, then Death Triangle turn their attention to Page. There is nowhere to run. The number game comes into play. Hangman can't overcome them and gets beaten down and dragged towards the exit of the arena. Pentagon jogs off to a car that's waiting just outside the arena. All three members of the Death Triangle throw Hangman into the trunk, climb in, and race off. Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn come running outside, but it's too late. They see the car speeding off in the distance. So have we just witnessed Hangman Page get kidnapped by the Death Triangle? I was a bit hesitant towards doing this, but I think the direction we're going in is going to pay off nicely as we move into the next segment. It gets a 71 from Jon Moxley before the ref rings the bell for Wardlow versus Jungle Boy. Moxley's music hits and he comes out to the ring via the entranceway and sits alongside the commentary team, so not coming through the crowd. It's all business for tonight as he wants to keep a closer eye on this match between Wardlow and Jungle Boy. MJF also at ringside for this. So a 71, getting those ratings up, just abusing the likes of Moxley, just using their star power as that match between Wardlow comes to an end after 10 minutes 08 as Wardlow does defeat Jungle Boy with a Splash Mountain. Jungle Boy the better performer, but only just, and Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus have good chemistry at ringside. And after the match, MJF climbs into the ring and faces towards the commentary desk, shouting abuse and putting his middle finger up at Jon Moxley. Moxley just gets up and walks off. This seems to piss MJ off. He kicks the ropes a few times and then climbs down and is congratulating Wardlow on his win. MJF then spits on Jungle Boy as they both exit the ring. The ultimate disrespect from the number one contender for the AEW World Championship, MJF. We move into the next segment. It's a video package. It's a promo from Darby Allin. With smoke swirling, Darby Allin emerges. Relentless means to never stop, to keep moving. I have to keep moving forward. What happened to me last week, I'm used to it. I'm used to the pain. I'm used to tasting my own blood. I'm used to being outnumbered, but I'm still here. Last week I felt alive. I enjoyed the pain. I enjoyed the fact others experienced my pain. There's blood on your hands now, Chris Jericho, and nothing will be able to stand in my way as one by one, brick by brick, I tear apart your inner circle. There is just a little bit more here. Darby Allin sets fire to an Inner Circle t-shirt, drops it on the floor, and then walks off. So a 72 segment rating for this Darby Allin promo before we head into tonight's main event. Really happy with that, and it just goes to show the sort of thing that Darby Allin is capable of. Just put him in front of the camera on his own, and he is going to shine. He is going to be a star for years to come here in AEW. So moving into that main event, it had good heat, decent wrestling. That's good to see. Darby Allin and Matt Hardy overcame Proud and Powerful of the Inner Circle after 14 minutes 20 when Darby Allin pinned Ortiz after a coffin drop. And it was Darby Allin, the best performer in the match. There was a a lack of cohesion between Allen and Matt Hardy, but I'm not too bothered by that. It got 73, the match got the crowd buzzing, and that's what we need as we do head into the last couple of segments of the evening. After the match, Darby Allin watches Matt Hardy pick up Ortiz and hit a twist of fate. Hardy turns to Darby, and after some persuasion, Darby climbs to the top and hits his coffin drop onto Ortiz. Very reminiscent of a well-known tag team. Hardy puts out his hand for Darby to shake, but he just ignores it and walks away. So it's like Matt Hardy wanting to try and relive his past, but Darby Allin having none of it. As we go backstage, Cody is shown walking towards the entranceway before he is stopped by Sammy Guevara. He is back. Hey, Cody, I know you're busy. I know you're about to go out there. I just wanted to say sorry for my actions towards Brandy last month. Hey, yeah, whatever, Sammy. And Cody walks on. Sammy looks a bit irritated. So Sammy Guevara been out for the last 20 odd days. It's good to have him back. I could have used him for a few angles as he was available for that, but I just didn't feel as though we needed to as we move in to the face-off between Cody and CM Punk. Cody makes his way to the ring with a mic already in his hand. Let's cut to the chase. I've already said my piece on everything that's happened over the last few weeks, mainly All Out. So CM Punk, Phil, if you please come to the ring so we can discuss things. CM Punk comes out to a huge pop. He picks up a mic as Cody goes to speak. CM Punk or Phil Brooks, I'd like to sincerely apologize. And Punk stops him there and raises his mic for the first time in AEW. We know CM Punk's history with the microphone, the pipe bomb. So we're going to get into that next. The angle got the crowd hotter. Got an 81. The potential between these two is insane. And then Punk goes on to say, stop. Cody, please. You're embarrassing yourself. I'm begging you. Just like you begged me to come here. Text after text. Where's the call? You know, I thought it'd be pretty cool to be part of this revolution. Hell, I've wanted to since last year. Just not with you in charge. I've been watching week after week, and the one thing that's remained a constant is you. Becoming everything you said you didn't want to become. Before you know, you'll be the bitter old fool sat in gorilla, micromanaging everything and bullying everyone. Tony Khan, though, he's a cool dude. You could learn a lot from him. You know, Cody, ever since you start this company with the Elite, you've done nothing but sit on this pedestal thinking you're the best. You're not the best, and never will be. Just some lame mid-carder that couldn't cut it elsewhere, so he had to start up his own company to become the best, or shall I say, the Elite. You're a phony, Cody. And this gets a 76, so a bit lower than the first segment, the first showdown, the first face-off. But I'm okay with this. It's continuing to advance the storyline. CM Punk working the crowd well. It's fantastic to see as we move into the next segment. As CM Punk continues to talk. As everyone knows, there's nothing I hate more than people abusing power. I've already made one man's life hell for doing such, and now I'm a part of AEW. I'm willing to do it again, because after all, I am the voice of the voiceless. The voiceless are about to rise up. Punk steps away from Cody, and sliding into the ring is the huge Brian Cage. He attacks Cody from behind with a discus clothesline. He picks Cody up and powerbombs him into the turnbuckle, and then swiftly lifts him up and nails him with the drill claw. So Cody has been on the end of a GTS back at All Out, and now the drill claw, it's not looking good for him at the moment, is it? As the EVP of AEW. This segment getting a 78, bit more than the previous segment, and CM Punk stands side by side with Brian Cage. It was just a matter of time before Cage debuted. In real life, we see him alongside Taz. In this series, you see him at the moment alongside CM Punk. Cody came across well in this segment. CM Punk was superb. That's really good to see. CM Punk was the road agent for this segment. So a 78, finishing the episode of Dynamite strongly and leaving plenty of questions as well. Where do we go from here? We've had the announcement of Halloween Havoc coming up in October, and now the debut of the Machine, Brian Cage. The overall rating then for the show is a 72, so we're sticking in those dark greens. This show increased our popularity in 24 regions. Not sure about you guys, but I enjoyed putting that one together. I felt advanced a few storylines quite nicely as we are heading into our next pay-per-view event, which is Halloween Havoc. In just a couple of weeks' time, we also saw Toni Storm debuting. That's done the women's division already a world of good, and those last three segments at the end finished off nice and strongly. The crowd absolutely buzzing. What a way to end this week's episode of AEW Dynamite. Let's go ahead then and have a look at the TV ratings for this week. So this week's episode, we got a 72 rating. We scored a 1.67 TV rating with a total of 1.2 million viewers. So that's just down compared to last week. So let's have a quick look at NXT. Ooh, and they've just beaten us. So it's now 4-3 to NXT in the Wednesday Night Wars. They had a 1.78 TV rating and a total of 1.3 million viewers. Still very tight margins though, week after week. It's getting interesting as we are heading into Halloween Havoc. That's it then for this episode of AEW Dynamite. Hope you've enjoyed. I'll see you all soon for AEW Dark.